Welcome, everyone, to the debut episode of your new favorite podcast, the Spillin It Podcast. My name is Ben Boynton. That lovely face above me is Jesse Smith. Just a couple guys, we've known each other for a very long time. We were in each other's weddings. Jesse was my best man. I was a groomsman in Jesse's wedding. And we're just here to talk some ball. Hopefully, it's entertaining somewhat. And if it's not, like and subscribe anyway. But you know what? We're just gonna jump right into it, Jesse. Welcome to the show, buddy.
Yeah, excited to be here. I think this is something that's way too overdue. We're just two dudes talking ball. We always are talking about it over text. So the next natural thing was to make it into a podcast. So,
I mean, everybody
everyone's
does
got
a
one now.
podcast
Yeah.
now, so.
Everyone's got one now, so it feels wrong to not have one at this point.
Special shout out to our likely two listeners, our wives. You got to start somewhere, and so this is a good starting point. Well, like I said, we don't got to beat around the bush too hard. This episode here, our first episode, we're gonna try some stuff out. If you do listen and you have some feedback, let us know. We're very receptive to hearing what people like and don't like. We're going to talk a lot of NFL today, I think. It's the primary sport going on. We will probably shout out the zombie fever at some point. I don't call them the Indiana fever currently. They're just the zombie fever for reasons that if you watch the WNBA, you would know. Um, and I'm a Rockies fan, so honestly, baseball talk gonna be tough here on this podcast.
Yeah, that's gonna be we'll cross that bridge in 5 years when we finally have some relevance.
I want to throw a disclaimer out there also. We do know some ball, but neither Jesse nor I has been employed by the NFL or ESPN. So if you're like, hey man, that's not what the tape says, we don't have tape. So
Yeah,
um,
we got the old-fashioned eyeball test.
I like to think we know what we're talking about, but just caveat, don't if you're gonna come into our mentions with all 22 film, share your password at least. Um, all
Yep,
right.
don't be selfish.
So, Jesse, as we record here on Wednesday, September 17th, we are 2 weeks into the NFL season. Week three starts tomorrow with the primetime murder of the Miami Dolphins. Sorry, oops, spoilers. Why don't we just start kind of, two games of ball down? How you feeling about the season this year?
It's been strange. There are some of the teams that I think, like Buffalo, who are your obvious ones are going to be on top, Philadelphia. Those are the expected ones. But then, you obviously have the Bengals coming in at 2-0, which is very unlike Cincinnati. They
Very much.
have continuously struggled early in the season, and especially with Burrow going down, them being 2-0 in that division, is definitely a big surprise for me. Obviously, repping my Indianapolis Colts were both Indy boys from the 317. Them being 2-0 just warms my heart in ways that I didn't know was possible anymore in my lifetime of being a Colts fan, especially since the Andrew Luck retirement. Um, but most things are kind of going as expected. You have your basement dwellers, you have Carolina down there. Chicago, unfortunately, just in that division, I don't think is going to be making some noise for the time being. You had the Saints, who we expected without really a stable quarterback position going in. They're 0-2 as well. But definitely want to shout out some of those teams that have been unexpected. The Colts, especially the Chargers, have looked much improved, especially letting Justin Herbert air it out more. But I'm really excited to see how some of these division leaders continue to develop over the course of a very, very long NFL season.
Yeah, I definitely, the Colts being 2-0 is a surprise, not in that the Colts, not in that we're surprised the Colts were capable of winning the first two games. Not exactly a murderer's row. We've got the Miami Dolphins, who I'm sure you'll hear derogatorily several times on this podcast. And then obviously the Broncos at home are a tough team. They're a playoff team. Spoiler alert, I am a Broncos fan first, Colts fan second. But the Broncos, they're not a juggernaut, but they're a playoff team, and
Yeah,
their
absolutely.
expectations are high. But it's not like the Colts played the Chiefs and the Eagles, but just the fact that they won their season opening game for the first time since 2013. It's one of those like it's that and playing the Jaguars at home where it's like you just like don't expect that to occur for whatever voodoo reasons. And honestly, for the Colts, Houston starting 0-2 is big. Jacksonville has been extremely up and down. I actually really like Cam Ward in Tennessee.
I do
If
too.
his receivers had hands, they probably would have beaten the Broncos. Maybe would have had a shot this past weekend against the Rams. I don't know. The Rams are good, but the division. A lot of the media has talked about the Colts as a talented group. Obviously, the big question with Indy, besides when Rigoberto Sanchez will get some action, is which, by the way, real quick, did you see the NFL put out like a highlight clip of him? It
Yes,
was just
just
all
holding.
him holding. That's all he's done.
That was great.
Um,
That was great.
but obviously, the big question in Indy was, certainly how Jonathan Taylor would play this year and not the quarterback because,
Oh
you
yeah,
have
of course.
an
That was no
extremely
question
strong
mark
quarterback. I'm
over
going to
the
throw some
quarterback.
statistics at you real quick. I have a take I'm going to kind of incorporate into some of our talk
Okay.
today that I'm going to tease a little bit here. But who do you think are the top two passing yards leaders in the NFL through two games?
If I just had to off the dome, I would have to just say Lamar and Josh Allen would be the two.
It's a
If
great
those are
guess.
the two obvious ones to me.
I don't fault you for that. Josh Allen is seventh. Lamar is 17th.
Wow.
Russell
Wow.
Wilson actually leads the NFL in passing yards because he got to play the Dallas
Yeah, the
Cowgirls
450.
last weekend. And I don't say that derogatorily, other than they gave up like 450 yards to like ancient Russell Wilson. So that's tough. But Sir Dimes himself, Daniel Jones, number two in the NFL in passing yards, which I thought was kind of surprising because as well as he's played, I don't feel like he's been just chucking the ball all over the field. But that's
No.
what he has done so far this season. I think that's 2 weeks in, there's a lot of ball to watch, but I truly do think the story of the season so far has been the way that Indy's offense has looked. Shane Steichen, his background before getting to Indianapolis was really robust. He was a key part of the first Eagles Super Bowl team, or I say first, but the outside of last year, the previous Eagles Super Bowl
Right.
iteration. He got a lot of credit for putting that offense together. Former Colts coordinator Nick Sirianni, more of like a Dan Campbell type coach, where he's kind of like the CEO, like vibes guy than
Right.
he is like the play caller. Um, but he's had some success in Indy that I think has been overlooked and overshadowed a little bit by Anthony Richardson's struggles last year. But it's looked really explosive, Jesse, through two games.
I agree, and Shane kind of burst onto the scene and almost made a playoff team out of a Gardner Minshew-led Colts. And I think
Exactly.
a lot of people forget that the quarterback is the most important position in sports. There's no doubting that. I know that's the old cliche. I know it's something that's just been said over and over again. But truly, the thing that Daniel Jones is doing is just keeping it simple. And that's what I've appreciated. And having a weapon like Tyler Warren to be able to go out into the flat and kind of be a safety blanket when nothing else is available opens everything else up. I mean, we've seen Alec Pierce get deep a couple times. We've seen even A.D. Mitchell, being able to
We've
finally
seen
get
AD
involved in
Mitchell.
the offense. Yeah, we've seen him.
He's
It's
been present.
we were he was a milk carton guy last year. We were a little worried, but that everything is set up differently when you have a quarterback that can go through his reads and make the easy play. Always take the profit that's in front of you. I know that's easier said than done in the NFL, and it is disappointing in a sense that Anthony Richardson on paper looks like a Greek god of playing
Hmm.
quarterback. He's huge, he can run, he can throw it, Uncle Rico over the mountains. But when you can't hit the check down, when everything is covered downfield, it's really hard to justify keeping you in the lineup. And I'm not saying that it's over for him by any means. I'm just saying definitely for now, at least in a Colts uniform. I'm saying for now, this is definitely Daniel Jones's team until he starts showing me otherwise. Now, do I think he's going to keep up this level of production over the course of 17? Probably not. But I'm going to leave in my fandom delusion that he's winning MVP this year. Just based off of how he's looked the first couple of weeks.
He's got two
I know
touchdown passes. He's got a little bit of
yeah,
ground to cover.
hey, the vibes are at an all-time high right now after being at a crushing low over the last several seasons. So I'm going to go ahead and enjoy this moment until I get my four interception game, and we'll address that then.
It's coming. Now, you touched on it a little bit. I want to highlight briefly two things that I think have really opened the door for, well, technically three things, but one of them is less surprising. Three things really that are why I think the Colts have looked so good on offense. Defense, like we could get into, but it's pretty basic. A new coordinator and new personnel equals
Mhm.
cha-ching. Cam
Yeah,
Bynum is the best dancer and playing some really damn good safety so
he
far.
really is.
Um, having good cornerback play from players like Charvarius Ward and just the edge room, even if it lacks a true like number one, just consistently applying pressure, I think has helped them. But on offense, it really to me boils down to three things. Number one, the addition of Tyler Warren gives the team an underneath option that they just have an underneath across the middle option that they just haven't had really.
hmm
It kind of slides everybody into more natural spots. You have Michael Pittman who can play more downfield. You still have Josh Downs working out of the slot. You have Alec Pierce who has one elite skill, but man is an elite, and it's run
It is
downfield for
the
40 yards and
elitist of
catch a
elite.
ball. Um, 80
Alec down there
Mitchell is
somewhere.
80 Mitchell is for sure more theory than like execution right now, but like the tools are there, and with a
Yep.
quarterback that can throw him the ball more regularly, hopefully he can unlock some of that. But
Mhm.
um, having an option, just having any passing attack to the tight end really has unlocked a lot of the Colts offense. Like you said, he's a check down, he's a safety valve. He's good after the catch. Mo Alley Cox has played honorable football for the Colts, but he's not somebody you get the ball to and then like expect more. Like he catches the ball and like that's kind of the end of the play. So having that extra dynamism to the offense has really made a huge difference. And then kind of hand in hand with that is just Daniel Jones being able to make those easy throws.
Mhm.
Anthony Richardson is a more talented football player. I don't think anybody's debating,
Yes.
but he's just not accurate, and he struggles to make those decisions quickly. To if his down the field options aren't available, just check it down. He
Yep.
has a little bit of that superhero quarterback tendency to him that a lot of the guys coming into the league right now have. And when it
Yeah.
works, like in a Mahomesian way, obviously it works. Jordan Love is another great example. That man like was put on this earth to just say F it, a receiver's down there somewhere and like chuck it.
Pure
But if you
chaos.
can't hit those and you can't hit the short area passes, it's pretty tough. I don't know. I'm on team. I don't think it's going to work for AR, and I don't necessarily even think it's all his fault. Obviously he
Right.
lost a lot of development, and then I just it's hard. I'm not going to say never going to say never because he is so talented. I just don't think it's with the Colts.
Right.
Even though I don't expect Daniel Jones to keep this up, but and then really quickly that third reason, the offensive line just not missing a beat despite
At all.
replacing
At all.
two starters. Ryan Kelly left, and you lose a guard as well, opposite Quentin Nelson, who is your mainstay. But just throwing in Gonsalves and I can't think of the center's name right
I
now,
can't think of it off the top of my head either, which is
but
sad. I should know
uh,
this.
Tanner Bortolini. Thank you.
Mortellini. I was like, I know it has like an Italian
Yeah,
sound to
Matt
it.
Gonsalves and Tanner Bortolini have looked just like the Colts offensive line when the Colts have been good has been their strength.
Yep.
And they look pretty good. Denver is a team that loves to bring pressure, whether it's
Oh
even
yeah,
if it's just four, they generate a lot of pressure and then they
they
send
do.
more. And I thought they acquitted themselves really well on Sunday. They created rushing lanes, they picked up blitzes. Daniel Jones faced some pressure, but he navigated it well, which is not a skill that he's always had. But he looks like he's playing with like an extreme amount of confidence. Um,
Absolutely.
and sometimes that's all it takes. Like sometimes you don't actually have to be that guy. You just have to think you're that guy, and the rest of the team makes you right. And that's kind of what's happening right now for the Colts.
Yeah, and I would have to agree with that. And all the interviews that I've seen of Daniel Jones, he's a fairly quiet guy anyway, but he keeps talking about how the locker room is rallying and together, and you can just see it on the guy's face. They're having fun. And the second thing is you mentioned Mo Alley Cox, and it would not be any sort of NFL media talking about Mo Alley Cox without mentioning that he played college basketball.
He
That is
did
a
hoop.
requirement.
That boy
Yes,
nice.
it's a knee jerk. It's almost, like going to the doctor, the testing the reflex. I just had to say it, had to throw it out there.
I feel like
All right.
he
Well,
inherited that title spiritually from Antonio Gates, even though
oh yes. Oh
obviously
yes.
Antonio Gates was a much more accomplished player, but like even though the man is like one of the most prolific tight ends of all time, even today, like I feel like it's still brought up. And it's like, did you know Antonio Gates played basketball?
It was Jimmy Graham too, didn't he?
Jimmy Graham also was one that got it a
Yeah.
lot. That makes me, I don't know, was it, who was I think it was Tennessee or Georgia. So one of the SEC teams has a guy, that is like a 6'7" like basketball player. Maybe it was even Clemson. They just bring him in like for like red zone fades, and then they draw a DPI like every time because you've got like this
Yeah.
5'10" cornerback getting literally posted up on. Anyway, that's really you can't do that at the NFL level, but that was Mo Alley Cox on another life.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Um, Moving forward, beyond initial reactions, I think we've seen not enough to really make this call, but it's still early enough that we can have some fun with this. I'm talking Super Bowl picks. Who's playing in the Super Bowl and who do you have? I'll go ahead and go first. I really do think this is the year that Lamar finally pulls the lid off and he makes it to the big dance. And you already mentioned the guy, Jordan Love just plays with a certain tenacity that I think when all the cards are put in the right place and everything kind of goes well over a streak of time, I think can make it happen. So my Super Bowl pick actually this year is going to be Ravens Packers, and I actually have the Ravens winning that game.
Okay. I hear you, and I want to meet you there with the Ravens. And this isn't I'm a huge Lamar guy. I don't think it's
Hmm.
Lamar's fault. There's something wrong with that team, man. They just like don't get it done. Like, and I don't know. I've seen like some chatter a little bit about like Harbaugh, Jim Harbaugh, or John Harbaugh. God damn.
Yeah, it's John over there.
Jim Harbaugh. Woo. Um, I'm staring at a standings page and I just read the Chargers name, so that's why I was thinking Jim Harbaugh. John Harbaugh. I've seen some chatter about whether it's like stale there, and I'm not that far. Obviously, I think he's a really good coach.
Yeah.
I just the Ravens are a team like I have no tie to them really. I just think Lamar is cool as shit. I think a lot of their
Hmm.
players are cool as
Me
shit.
too. Yeah,
I
literally the
love
only
that
reason I
they've just
watch.
imported like 3 plays of prime DeAndre Hopkins per game, and they just throw him like a,
It works.
hey, can you catch this? And he's like, yeah, hold my beer. And that's his entire role in the offense. They don't do anything other than like throw him like two like go make a play balls a game. I can't get all the way there with the Ravens quite yet. I hope to be wrong because I think they're so fun, and I really thought last year was their year. And then my diabetic brother, Mark Andrews, among a litany of other errors, kept them from being there. But it's the team that beat them in that game that I think it's the Bills' year.
You think
Um,
it's the Bills this time?
I saw this stat, please don't quote me on it, but that their opponents' remaining strength of schedule. And now what I don't know is this based on this year or like based on last year? I think it was based on
Right.
last year still because I'm like, there's only 2 games.
Yeah, there's
Um,
no, yeah.
it's like sub 400 winning percentage of
Oh
their
my
remaining
gosh.
opponents, which is they're helped by playing in the division that they're in. Um,
Yeah.
but I don't know, man. The way that the Bills, their defense is a cause for concern based on how they played against Baltimore. But they just and they don't have like a number one receiver truly. But like I think Josh Allen is throwing the ball better, as good as anyone in the league.
Yeah.
Um, and I feel like the AFC seems wide open. I'm not going to bury the Chiefs. They're
You
certainly not
can.
going to go winless.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to win a bunch of games and be a part of the mix. But I just for all the reasons that I kind of knocked the Chiefs, I feel like I just and the Ravens just have kind of like that voodoo around them. I think it's
Yeah.
Bills season. Um,
Okay.
NFC wise, I think it's go pack go all the way. I thought it was I was kind of eyeing them even before the Micah Parsons trade.
Yeah.
Um, they just scream team of destiny to me. Like
They really
um,
do. There's something there.
Jordan Love when it's either A Toyotathon or B he's just on fire. Is as good as anybody in the league. Um, and they just have looked so impressive through 2 games. Their defense, especially. I think adding Micah and making like Rashawn Gary is a great player, But if he's your number two pass rusher, I think you're in much better shape. It's similar to the Colts weapons where it's like just putting the right guy in the right spot and kind of
Hmm.
shuffling everybody else on the pecking order. I think really opens up a lot. Their secondary is very concerning to me.
Yes.
They have like zero good corners, but they have some good safeties, and the way that they've played through 2 weeks, and I think the ceiling that they have, I don't think their defense doesn't have to be the 85 Bears. It's just got to be better than the current Bears defense, because I think that offense has a really high ceiling. I do want to throw kind of a teaser out there for you. I am
Okay.
going Bills Packers with the Bills on top. Um, but I kind of low key feel like the Bucks could be really good this year.
I do too. They have the other team of destiny feeling as well. And it's hard not to like Bake right now. I know with you and Bacon when he was in college at Oklahoma, it was a different story, but just what a story he's been. What a revelation he's been. And I just root for guys to do well after getting out of bad situations. And he resurrected his career out of a nothing opportunity on a random Thursday night 98-yard drive, and now
Literally.
it's turned into him being a franchise quarterback. I love those stories. I was watching there's a clip that came up on my Instagram reels where he was on the New Heights podcast with the Kelsey brothers
Mhm.
and him going through and talking about how it was hilarious. He had the quarterback wristbands with 76 plays, and apparently Sean McVay didn't call a single one of them. He's like, I had 48 hours. He didn't call a single one of these plays.
It's
Like
crazy.
that's the most Sean McVay story I think I've ever heard. All
Uh,
right.
I
Moving
do
forward.
also,
Oh,
sorry, real quick.
no, go ahead.
I also low key thought about picking the Rams, but Stafford just scares me too much. If Stafford
He
is
does.
healthy, if you can promise me that Stafford is healthy, I think that they have as good a shot as anybody.
Hmm.
Obviously,
He's just a
neither of us
glass
mentioned
cannon.
he's just such a glass cannon, but their defense is their pass their front seven is so good. They also have
So
similar
good.
secondary concerns to meet as the Packers, but with the high floor of the pass rush, their offense is unreal. Neither of us mentioned the Eagles, but I do think that obviously
Oh, they'll be in the mix.
they'll
Yeah,
be in the mix. Repeating is just really hard.
it
Um,
is. And they've been to two straight Super Bowls as well. But if they were there in February, would not remotely
wouldn't
surprise
shock
me.
me at all. But I just
No.
wanted to shout out the Rams as well because
Yeah.
I think that they're capable. And I don't know, maybe the Niners will change my mind when they're healthy, but they're a
Remains to
mess.
be seen.
So yeah.
Right. So let's start looking at week three. Obviously, we have a lot of quarterback injuries going through. Burrow's a big one, and that just I hate that. That sucks. That's
Yeah.
just not good for football. And unfortunately, it seems to be kind of reoccurring with him. And it's not really even his fault. He has a saloon door of an offensive line, and he's in year six, and it hasn't been addressed. And
But like here, I'm gonna push. I'm sorry, Jesse. This is gonna be our
no,
first disagreement. I'm also gonna push back on that. They have spent capital on the offensive line. They made a first round pick last year, if I'm not mistaken, and spent some high value draft picks this year on the offensive line. I'm trying to see if I can pull up their draft. Um, but
just not getting the result. I mean, at the end of the day, he's your investment. You
yeah, they
know.
took Dylan Fairchild in the third round this year. He's playing.
Okay.
Um, they took what was his name, the big tackle, Amarius Mims, who I think has been somebody that has shown some flashes. Like I don't know, the Bengals are just so weird because they won't spend any money, so like they just have to nail all their draft picks.
Right.
Um, but I don't disagree with your premise though that like he's just it's not his fault. He's just taking such a beating, and he's somebody he has a little bit of that like I'm gonna extend the play a little bit.
Yeah.
Where it's like sometimes you're like, man, it's okay. Like you can probably Jamar
Just
Chase
throw it
got
away.
you on like you could pick up that yard elsewhere. But yeah, no, obviously that's a devastating injury, especially
Yeah.
because we should have known he was going to get hurt when the Bengals won their first game. Because, like you
Oh yeah.
mentioned, they're notorious for being like, just like ass in September. And then they fire it on at the end of the season, and it's like it feels like they're running like they already beat the video game by reaching the Super Bowl, and now they're on like
Hmm.
the expert mode, like
Right. And
they're
they're
on
just
New
trying
Game
to
Plus, where it's like, okay, how far in the hole can we start? and still make the playoffs, which didn't work for them last year, but
No, it almost did, but it was no, not meant to be. We got Jaden Daniels, who's a little banged up right now. He's questionable. I just hate seeing quarterbacks go down. Purdy's hurt as well.
JJ
With that
McCarthy is
being
going to miss a
said,
couple weeks.
oh yeah, I forgot McCarthy as well.
Not that that's a huge
So
loss, but still an injury.
let's I mean, when Carson Wentz is your backup, it's a loss.
You know what I heard? I need to. It was either Carson Wentz is going to be when he starts on Sunday. He's going to be the first player in NFL history to start um, seven straight. Or I think it's hold on. Okay. Yeah, it's if he starts, he's the first quarterback in NFL history to start a game for six different teams in 6 straight years.
That's insane. That's actually it's impressive,
Can you
actually.
name all six?
It's gonna be Philly,
Okay.
um, Indy,
Yep.
Washington,
Yep.
Kansas City.
Yep.
So this is gonna be Minnesota.
Yep. I forgot this one also happened. I did this game for myself when I heard the stat, and the team that you're forgetting is the same team I forgot.
Was it LA?
It is LA in 23.
Yes.
Started a game for the
Yes.
Rams in that same I think that was the same season that Baker started that Thursday night game for them.
I wish this power that I had was used for something, that could be used for financial gain.
It might be. I don't know. Where
It
it's
might be.
podcast episode 1, we'll see.
Someone's gonna be like, man, this dude's impressive. He knows all of Carson
Wait
Wentz's
a minute.
history.
That sounds like sponsored content.
All right, let's fix some picks for week three. Thursday night matchup, we have Bills and Dolphins. I think this one's pretty obvious. We don't need a lot of discourse in this one.
Yeah,
Obviously
I
taking
literally called it.
Miami.
I called it the public murder of Miami, so I think
Yeah.
we know where we stand there.
Yeah, the real question is going to be, is Josh Allen going to play the fourth quarter of this game? Hate to be that guy, but that's just going to be what it boils down to.
Trubisky plays too many games this year. He's gonna have to burn his red shirt. That's all I'm saying.
Hey, Trubisky threw an absolute dot in that one pass that he had against the Jets this weekend when his nose was bleeding.
He
It was
can
a
sling it.
dot.
Like I do not want Mitchell Trubisky as my starting quarterback. But if he's like holding a clipboard and like occasionally comes in, like he has enough talent. Like
Yeah.
he was born to be a backup. He was miscast as a starting quarterback.
Oh
Like he's
yeah.
got enough.
Yeah.
Well, all I want out of my backup, I don't want like the guy that's gonna play it safe. I want the guy that's like I deserve to be out here. Probably makes a mistake or two, but makes enough good plays. That's why Jake Browning is so good as a backup.
Yeah.
Is because he has enough to him that he can make those plays and doesn't play like a coward.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go our 1 and 4 o'clock slates for Sunday. Packers Browns. I'm taking the Packers in this one.
Packers, yeah. I mean, I think we're
Yep.
pretty high. Based on our Packers talk, it would be shocking for us to pick the Browns there.
Bengals and Vikings. This one's going to be a couple backup quarterbacks that we talked about, Jake Browning, and Carson Wentz. And this one, I'm taking the Bengals. Jake Browning just has, I think, too much going on that he's been there for so long that he actually has that rapport with his team. Wentz doesn't really have that at this point. And also, they have Jamar Chase, who I legitimately think could have a trash can as his quarterback and would still somehow come up with 6 catches, 90 yards, and a touchdown. And that's nothing against Justin Jefferson, but Jamar just has a different thing to him, I think.
I think also, I don't know. I have such a hard time like sorting Jamar and Justin. But what I do, I think I'm with you though. I also took Cincinnati. Jake Browning, we've just seen do it so much more. When was Carson Wentz's last good game? Like he's made all those starts, but it was probably 2021, the last time
Yeah,
when he was with Washington in those first couple games. It looked like maybe it could, or 2022, whatever year he was with
yeah,
Washington. After it was not with the Colts. Um, he never looked good. He had a couple drives where he looked good, but
yeah.
I think it was with the Commanders where he looked
They
good.
look decent. Yeah,
I again like I don't know if you saw Jamar Chase's stat line last week, but Jake Browning knows how his bread is buttered. So
yes.
I would take Cincinnati in that as well.
For the next one, it's Patriots Steelers. This one I'm going with a bit of a surprise. I'm actually going Patriots on this one. Um, Really no other reason, just random gut feeling. I don't really have a specific football reason for this one. Um, but I know your wife's probably not going to be too happy with that
Well,
pick,
this
but
is
I'm
going to be
going
a boring
Patriots.
podcast if we agree on every pick, but I also took New England. Here's the thing. Yeah, my wife, Cheyenne, cover your ears. I just don't believe in Pittsburgh in the slightest. I think they're now. Do I think they're capable? Yeah, I think Pittsburgh
Mm-hmm.
could win 9 games or 10
Mm-hmm.
games even. I think they could. I will not count on them to do so. And I don't really. New England is missing a lot of talent in a lot of places, but they just, I don't know. They're scrappy. I don't think they're going to win more than like 5 or 6 games, but I
No,
do
but
think
this will be one of them,
Pittsburgh's offense was elite in week one and a mess last week. Their defense has just not looked very sharp. Um,
which
I
is
just,
supposed to be their strength.
yeah, I think I got it. I did pick New England also, but I don't feel like great about it, but I just feel like they have a shot.
Yeah. Next one is going to be Eagles and Rams. This one I wrestled with for a minute just because I do think that Rams offense is dangerous when they want to be. And like you said, when Stafford's healthy, he can go toe to toe with just about anyone. But I am taking the Eagles just because my logic side of my brain took over on that one. And until someone shows me that they can beat them, I kind of have to keep picking them.
Yeah, I also I thought long and hard. My mouse hovered over the Rams name for quite a while. I think their offense takes all the headlines. Their defense, like we talked about, has some potential. Philly just hasn't looked 100% right quite yet.
No, they haven't looked quite sharp.
But they're like treading water is has still been good enough to beat the Cowboys, who I don't think are great, but are not like a nobody. And then Kansas City, who despite a slow start has lost to two 2-0 teams.
Yeah.
No slouches themselves. Obviously, we know what the Chiefs are capable of. But yeah, I was a coward. I couldn't pick the Rams. I just, until same as you, until somebody knocks off the Eagles, I'm going to believe in them.
This next one is Bucks and Jets. I know you're high on the Bucks, and Justin Fields was ruled out, so Tyrod Taylor is starting. And this is absolutely no disrespect to Mr. Tyrod. He has been a wonderful journeyman quarterback,
Love
but I
Tyrod
take the
Taylor.
Bucks pretty easily in that one.
Yeah, I also took Tampa Bay. I would have even before the Fields injury. By the way, wrap Jordan Love and some bubble wrap because every other quarterback whose name starts with J is injured. Um,
It's true.
so keep that man stuffed or surrounded by the spongiest cheese that we can.
I
We
love
need
it.
him.
Next one is Commanders Raiders, and this one is completely 100% dependent on the availability of Jaden Daniels. If Daniels plays, I take the Commanders. If he doesn't, it's going to be the Raiders. As of right now, in my official pick, he is still listed as questionable, so I assume that he plays, and I took the Commanders for this one.
So I also took the Commanders, but I don't think it's as dependent on Jaden Daniels. Their backup is Marcus Mariota. Um,
Yeah,
the at least that's who I'm pretty sure that's who's still backing up Jaden. The Raiders to me have so much potential and they have a lot of talent, but there is also something funky with the Raiders, like something in a worse way than with the um, it's comparable to more comparable to the Steelers than it is Philly,
yeah,
where it's like on paper you should be a lot better, but it doesn't look right. And
it's not
I'm a
clicking.
big Geno guy. I was not when
Yeah,
he first broke out. I was like, this is a fluke, but he's won me over. Honorable quarterback play. Um,
yeah,
and they have weapons. I don't know. I do think Jaden will play. I have no insider information. That's just kind of a gut feeling because I feel like they probably feel like he needs to because if he doesn't and they're 1-2 coming off two straight losses in that division, that's tough. But
that's gonna be
I
real
also went
tough.
with Commanders. I don't feel extremely confident about it, but I feel like it'll be Commanders, whoever the
Yeah.
quarterback is.
Next one's going to be Falcons and Panthers. I did take the Falcons in this one just because I felt they were pretty dominant against the Vikings on Monday night. But this one I do feel like could be a quick flip on an upset. You know, Bryce Young can catch fire at random times. And I'm really
Oh,
just trying to
Bryce.
figure out what that team's identity is going to be moving forward. They just kind of seem stuck in the mud, and
The Panthers or
which
the
is
Falcons?
the Panthers
Okay.
because looking at them at the end of last year, there was some spark, there was some hope going on there, and I was like, hey, we're starting to see something. Bryce is starting to put it together, win some games, and then came right back to what he looked like at the beginning of last season. So I know you're a big Bryce guy, and I like the guy too, but need to start seeing some more consistency over the course of the season from him. Would not surprise me if they pulled one out. This just feels like one of those division trap games for the Falcons coming off a big primetime week.
Hmm.
But for the time being, I'm gonna play it safe and take the Falcons.
I feel like I also took the Falcons. I do love Bryce Young as an Alabama guy. Agree with what you said. He's just a little inconsistent. He had an elite like last like 20 minutes of the game this past weekend, but looked pretty rough the first 40 minutes. And I think the Cardinals also just like didn't really know how to close that game out. I do want to add, I don't know, Atlanta is another one of those teams where I don't feel like it's funky, but I just don't know what to make of them because
Hmm.
I think that they have a lot of talent on offense, and invested heavily in the defense. And so far, it seems like the defensive additions have. I mean, they've played the Bucks, a team that I think highly of, and I don't know, the Vikings. I don't really believe in currently, but they have weapons.
Yeah.
Like they're no slouches. Defenses look sharp. And I promise this is not rooted in a dislike of Michael Penix as an IU player. I have not he to me is somebody where it's like I need to see. I mean, and again, I feel like the way we view JJ McCarthy and Michael Penix should be more similar, but it's
Yeah.
different because people remember Penix started a couple games last year, but he made his fifth start this past weekend,
Right.
second career road start. I need to see more from him before I'm a consistent believer in the Falcons because it's been up and down, and he has a lot of toys. But I also took the Falcons. It's a mess in Carolina, and I think they knew that it would be rough this year. I think there was some optimism, but they really just are looking for signs of growth to me.
They really are at this point. Next one is going to be Texans and Jaguars. For this one, I'm actually taking the Texans for this. I went
We
with Houston.
we need to start comparing picks before we turn the
We need
recording
to have
off.
a discussion before we do this. Um, so I'm taking the Texans on this one. More than anything, just because the more that the AFC South can cannibalize, the better it is for the Colts, which I will
It's
appreciate.
fandom motivated. I'm with you with the Texans. I think they're due for a win. I think they're better than 0-2. They just had two tough matchups. Obviously in playing the Bucks this past weekend and then the Rams in the opening week. Jacksonville is another. That's the thing about the league so far this year is I don't feel like there are a lot of true like standout teams. There's like four or five teams that I think are above everybody else right now. That those are teams like Buffalo, Baltimore, Green Bay. The Chargers have looked pretty dominant, unfortunately. Um, but everybody else is just kind of like mid, and that's kind of where Jacksonville fought. They got a win, but it wasn't really like the most compelling win, and it was not against a good team. It was the Panthers after a long weather delay, and the Panthers are pretty overmatched in several places. I don't know. I have the Texans, but my eye is on Jacksonville as a team that could either string together wins or it could go to the tank pretty quickly.
Next one's going to be Chargers and Broncos. Sorry to break your heart on this one. Taking LA on this. I almost said San Diego because that's where they
They
should
should be
still be,
San
but
Diego.
that should be San Diego. I mean, even the people of LA want them to be in San Diego. But beside the point, that's a different segment. I'm taking the Chargers on this one again until someone shows me otherwise. They have had two very quality wins and have had complete control of both games they've played.
And I will share my Broncos thoughts, but first, a quick break from our sponsors. And that's where our ad break would have been if we had one. We do not. Anyway, shout out to
Is this going to
Zooms.
be like in college football 25 when you're a freshman, you get your first NIL deal from like Greta's Chicken Coop and you and your teammates can spend an hour a week petting a chicken or something,
Pretty
and we
much.
got to build our way up. I mean,
Yeah, we
Greta,
should
Greta, if you're watching, please, we'll take the deal.
be putting our points into like, XP and getting better. And instead, Audrey invited us to the party, so we went to that instead. Um, this is exciting because it's actually a hilarious time for like an ad break, aka Zoom enforced pause. Because I actually disagreed with you on this pick. I
Okay,
took
finally.
Denver. I don't feel great about it. But I think that the Chargers are good. I think Denver is better than what they showed. We'll clean up some of the sloppiness from the loss to the Colts. Um, Bo Nix is kind of on fraud watch for me a little bit. I'm not putting him on fraud watch yet. I guess he's kind of in the queue for fraud watch. Um, I was obviously I'm an Alabama guy, so I'm sure most people can put together where my anti-Bo Nix would have come from. I just I feel like he gets training wheels on him like no other quarterback because that's what Sean Payton feels like he has to do for it to work.
I'd agree with that.
Bo is horrific under pressure. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I would encourage you to Google Bo Nix under pressure numbers. And then also just some of his mechanics. He gets happy feet in the pocket. He drifts out of the pocket all the time. Go watch like Bo Nix cut ups, and you'll see every throw is like outside the tackle box because he just kind of like wanders there. Um, but good God Almighty. Sorry, I'm getting a phone call on my computer apparently. Um,
Amazing.
so if you heard that ringing, sorry, I just declined my mom. But
Susan.
I know what that's for. That can wait. Anyway, long story short, I don't know. This is maybe a little homerism of me, but I've got the Broncos in this one, so
Okay.
I'm glad
All
that
right. We
we
finally have one that
disagree at least.
we can watch for bragging rights there. Also to note, I typed in Bo Nix under pressure and his cover of the David Bowie and Queen song came up, so can't help you with anything
You
with
know
the
what? That is I should have warned you. Bonix under pressure statistics. Otherwise, you would get that really sick. A quick, I don't know how much you believe in PFF, but PFF 85 passing grade when kept clean and 39.8 under pressure, which whether you think PFF is the perfect number or not, I think it shows the disparity.
I
Um,
mean, I barely believe in myself, so I'll take their word for it. So next up is going to be Seahawks and Saints. This one is just it's a bit of a mess. It's a bit of a mess going into
you
it.
don't say.
I um I took the Seahawks, and I don't really have a particular reason for it. This is just that one that in that 4 to 4:25 slot that I can just smell the Sunday nap that I'm going to take with it on in the background. So for that one, while I will be snoozing, I will have Sam Darnold and the Seahawks winning.
I also took Seattle. I don't. Here's the thing: New Orleans before the season looked like it was going to be an abject disaster, and I don't
Yes,
think it really has been through two
it
weeks.
hasn't
Like
been
it's
as
actually
bad
been
as we
much more
thought.
competent than I expected. I definitely just I think Seattle's better. I think their defense is starting to really flash. They have a lot of talent. They're starting to put it together. I don't trust Sam Darnold as far as I can throw him, and I don't have a lot of upper body strength. But I don't know. I feel like the Saints have played very honorable football through 2 weeks, but I feel like the floor is going to drop on them, and this just seems like one of those games where exactly like you wake up from your nap and it's like 30-9 Seattle, and you're like, how did it get there? And it's like one passing touchdown and then just some really kooky shit that goes on to get Seattle to 30. And you're like looking at the box score and you're like, I'm not really sure how this translates, but okay.
Here we are. The next one we have Bears and Cowboys. This one's going to be kind of my, I guess you're going to call it an upset pick of the week. I'm taking Chicago here. I think I've
Okay.
really liked what I've seen from Caleb and Rome together. Rome wasn't built in a doomsday, and I do believe that this is the week they finally get on the board. Don't you thumbs down me.
I can't do
Um,
that. My fantasy name is Bed Bath and Bijan, so I can't really thumbs down.
uh, so I do believe this is the week they put it together. That defense is abhorrent, but so has Dallas's throughout this
Yeah,
year to this point.
it's a
So
mid
I
off for
think
sure.
it really is. So I do believe this is the time they get over the hump. This is a winnable game for them, and I think for the rest of their season, if they want to salvage, any sort of competitiveness moving forward, this is one I think they got to have.
Yeah, I picked Dallas. I it was much more of a toss up for me than I thought it would be. There's a lot of talk about Caleb Williams. I don't think the offense has been the problem. Now he was pretty
No,
bad in the
no,
second half of the Vikings game. But I think that weighs heavily in people's minds because that was a primetime game. Week one, and then they got shellacked by the Lions this past
they
weekend.
did.
Um,
They did.
but I don't. that was to me more. I mean, it was the defense. I mean, they gave up
It
52.
was.
The Bears scored enough points to be in a competitive game. If Detroit had only scored like 32, 31, whatever, I don't think we would really be having this conversation. But
No.
um, it's going to take some time for I think for Chicago to really like for the offense to really get it together. I think it was a really bad situation last year. I like Ben Johnson like any other person that watches football. I think he's good at his job. But yeah, the defense is I couldn't do it with the defense. I think that Dallas actually has one of the top 10 offenses in the league right now.
I can agree to that.
Stats that I don't have in front of me, but surely exist. Um, but I don't know. I think um, even if he hasn't shown up in the box score as much, I think George Pickens has kind of helped Dallas's offense a lot just by being out there. Um, and their defense is really bad. But when in doubt, I did take Dak because I think he's better than Caleb. But I could see it going either way. Neither would shock me.
Yeah. Next one up is going to be Arizona and San Francisco. Bit of a surprising pick here for me. I'm taking the Cardinals. I do think Mac Jones looked a lot better in a Kyle Shanahan
He sure
offense.
did, didn't he?
He looked real good.
Almost like he was betrayed by having offensive coordinator Matt Patricia.
That would do it to anyone, really. But for this one, I am taking Arizona. I liked what I've seen from Kyler so far. I need him to throw it to Marvin Jr. a little more for my fantasy team's sake because I spent some capital on him in our league this year. I'm not going to lie. I bought into the second year leap. But this just feels like one of those regression games for the 49ers. I think they're coming off some really nice vibes from last week. They looked really good, even without Purdy and Kittle and Ayuk. But I do think that depth is going to be an issue at some point.
Mhm.
And this just feels like one of those trap games for them.
Yeah, I picked Arizona as well, kind of confidently. I don't think Mac Jones is like a top 15 quarterback for sure. I do think that he would be a starter still if he could have been like a Kirk Cousins type, like or Kirk Cousins like we have Kirk Cousins at home. That
Right.
could have been
The
Mac
Timu
Jones.
Kirk
The
Cousins.
Timu Kirk Cousins, his development, he just had no shot, with like I made a joke, but it is serious. Like Matt Patricia was his offensive coordinator in year
Yeah.
two. Year one, he looked good when he had an NFL play caller. I was inspired by like how they played. It's similar to, um, who was the team? I was saying it earlier. Oh, New Orleans. Like I don't know how long it's gonna hold out. Just with so many losses missing so many key guys like Tanji or is not going to keep making unreal grabs in the end zone.
No.
Um, McCaffrey's going to do his damnedest, but I think Arizona's defense actually is kind of feisty. Um,
Yeah.
I don't really know that I believe in Arizona as much as 3-0 would imply, but I think that they'll take that win. Big game,
Next one.
divisional
Oh
game.
yeah. Oh yeah. Next one that we have on the slate is going to be Chiefs and Giants. I mean, Russell Wilson dialing back the clock and remembering that he is a Hall of Fame caliber quarterback was really cool last week. But in this one, I cannot imagine a scenario that Patrick Mahomes is 0 and 3 after 3 weeks, especially with a loss to the Giants. I just don't see it happening. I don't
Mhm.
think Andy Reid is going to allow it to happen, and I think they're just going to win by any means possible.
So here's the thing. I did pick the Chiefs, and I do think that they will win. But there was kind of a little like kind of moment for me where it's like, and again, I don't think the Giants are all of a sudden some sort of like playoff contender. I think they're going to win less. I think they're going to clean house probably at the end of the year because I think they're not going to have a great year. But they have a really good pass rush, at least theoretically. It's showed up in spurts so far this year. Um, their offense has weapons. Like obviously, we just saw them what they're capable of on their best
Oh yeah.
day. For all the reason I think it's all the intangibles. Like I could see a path on the field for the Giants to win. I don't see it intangibly.
Yeah.
And so for that reason I'm out, on the Giants this week. But I do think I don't know it's possible, but Mahomes has just lost three straight. If you count the Super Bowl, that's the first time in his career that he's lost three straight games. Um, we haven't, so we don't really know how they're going to respond to that. And the Chiefs have their own problems with weapons, and the defense hasn't been as intense as I mean, I think they've played well, but there are some plays that they've given up. But yeah, I think it's the Chiefs. I don't think we have to belabor it any longer.
That Giants pick was calling you like the Green Goblin mask.
It was talking to
Alrighty.
me. I thought about it. I did, but I couldn't do it. I couldn't stake any part of my reputation on that.
And then we have the Monday night slate, Ravens Lions, which I think is going to be a really good game. I think you're going to have a desperate Lions team coming in. I know they got the big blowout win, but they do not want to go down 1-2 in that division. That's a tough one. And also for the Ravens not wanting to go to 1-2. This was a really hard one for me, just because I do love the rushing attack that the Lions have with Sonic and Knuckles there. But I did go with who I thought was the better quarterback in this scenario. I went with the Ravens, but this one could very, very easily go the other way.
Yeah, this I think is going to tell us a lot about both teams. These are two 1-1 teams that we obviously have come to expect as, which is crazy still to say that about the Lions, but we've
Right.
just come to expect them at the top of the league. Obviously losing both coordinators in the offseason for the Lions, we didn't really know how that was going to play out. I think week one was weird. I think that might ultimately be more about the Packers than it is about the Lions. About the Packers having a really strong defense and being kind of a juggernaut team. I think more than like the Lions being bad, but they were very bad in week one. I did pick the Ravens as well, even though like I kind of wanted to pick the Lions because I don't trust Baltimore in big games anymore. But I do think that Baltimore, like they lost to Buffalo, but they scored 41 points. Like I don't, I think they're the better team. I think they're probably, and I know this is crazy to say after I just said I don't trust them in big games, but the more consistent team
Yeah,
um,
definitely regular season.
in regular season for sure. And so I picked Baltimore as well.
All right, so that's all of our picks. So next up on our list before we get into our fun segment that we're going to do at the end of the show, just want to shout out the Indiana Fever, as you're calling them, the Zombie
The
Fever.
zombie fever,
Just
baby.
just hanging in there. One just making the playoffs this year
Kelsey
has
Mitchell, our
been,
queen.
oh my goodness. Build a statue already. I know we don't even have one for Reggie yet, but go ahead and build a statue for Kelsey, or at least give her the mural. So huge shout, and also just shout to the W in general. What a couple of year run it's been for them in general, and finally starting to get some of the recognition that they have so long deserved. I think you and
Mhm.
I have both agreed to that. We also anything pop culture related, is anything you've been watching, anything you've been listening to that you want to share with the class?
Before I get to that real fast, just to add to the Fever point, I worked for the Fever one year. Um, it was the first year after Tamika Catchings retired. It was Kelsey Mitchell's rookie year. Um, and just it's been so cool to see the growth of the league and the growth of the Fever from that point. I
Oh
watched
yeah.
some truly putrid basketball in that building that
Oh yeah.
season. And it's just really cool to see the team. Obviously, Caitlin Clark is a big part of that growth, but I think it's well beyond her. The quality of basketball in the WNBA has never been better. Um,
Never.
there's so many really, really standout players. Aaliyah Boston, for sure, also part of that growth with the Fever as well. Natasha Howard, who coming back to the Fever after many years, where she played for the Fever, got a lot better elsewhere, and then now kind of coming back, I think is really cool and underlooked. Um, but definitely, yeah, big. This is a pro WNBA podcast. I'm
Yes,
sure we'll
very
talk
pro.
about like the finals matchup when we get to there. But yeah, the Zombie Fever probably not going to win, but we can hope. Pop culture wise, what am I watching? I know I'm really late to this, but I just never like watched it when it came out. Not because I didn't want to. It was one of those like wanted to, and I just never made time. But I'm watching Ironheart right now.
Oh nice.
Um, I'm halfway through. I just finished the third episode. Um, it's pretty cool. I think Marvel, and I have too many Marvel thoughts to fit onto an already lengthy podcast, but so I'm sure we'll do like some special episodes at some point talking
Oh,
about
I'm
some of
sure.
these things. But Marvel learned a lot of the wrong lessons from Phase Three in particular, Phase Three and Four in particular, and I think that they have kind of settled into a rhythm, at least on TV. Movies, we can talk about that another time. But their last few television series on Disney Plus have been really good. Agatha All
Yes.
Along, I cannot recommend strongly enough. Ironheart is really good. They figured out that they didn't have to force connections. They could just make good shows.
Yeah.
Um, and while I don't think Ironheart is like a flawless show, I think it's a lot of fun. I'm having fun watching it. I definitely would recommend that. I will be watching Marvel Zombies when it comes out next week.
Yes. That
Um,
is must watch TV.
which kind of motivated, even though like, it's not necessary, it's not the same reality at all as Ironheart. It kind of motivated me. I'm like, I gotta finish this before that comes out.
Right.
But Marvel has severely dropped the ball with its animated offerings over the years. I don't know if this is gonna be a step in the right direction or if it's just gonna be something that exists, but I think it'll be a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to it. I think I'm gonna that I'll table the Marvel stuff for later because I don't want to go into
Yeah.
a rant. But that's what I'm watching right now. Were you watching anything, Jesse?
Honestly, I haven't been watching a whole lot. I've been gaming like crazy. I got my new setup and the new reactive lights on the TV, so
Yeah.
just kind of falling in love with the PlayStation again and being able to just hop on. I spent probably a good couple hours last night on the remaster for Tony Hawk 3 and was just having a big old time there. Played my own playlist of, old pop punk songs
Hmm.
and just having a lot of good time with that. Been playing a ton of the new Mario Kart and Donkey Kong on the Switch too. Been a ton of fun. But yeah, really gaming's been kind of my thing. Music wise, been a bit of a borderline concerning obsession with The Weekend lately after the show that we saw down
Hmm.
here just a few weeks ago. And folks, if you've never seen him
Incredible
live,
performance. Yeah.
it is you have to. Even if you're just like a casual fan of his, it is a show worth seeing. The best live vocal performance I think I have ever encountered in my life. He was spectacular, played 42 songs, and that is, with the increasing cost of just going to anything anymore, that was the most bang for my buck that I felt like I have gotten in a very long time of any live event that I've been to.
It was truly an amazing show. I've seen The Weeknd one other time, but it was at a festival, so which is obviously anyone that's been to a festival versus a concert knows it's a very different experience. Was amazing to go with you in particular, us and our wives. You and I are huge fans, and I think your wife is probably a bigger fan than mine. She knows some songs, not a lot, but she learned a bunch as we were kind of preparing for the concert. Um, Definitely, I've been bumping some Weekend. You've seen my on repeat, so you know that there's really
Oh
only
yes.
two albums that I'm listening to currently. Very different albums. The Sinners soundtrack. If you are listening to this podcast, watching this podcast, whatever, and you have not seen Sinners, turn us off and go watch Sinners. Like
It's a phenomenal
it's
movie.
it,
It's
it's
so good.
Ryan Coogler has never missed a day in his damn life, and it's
No.
probably his best work. Um, it's such a good movie, and part of what makes it so good is the soundtrack is unbelievable. It's got everything. It's got blues, it's got folk, it's got jazz. There's a Rod Wave song that's actually pretty good.
Hmm.
Haley Steinfeld, who has become famous for other things, but like honestly, her music when it hits, it hits. I think her song on that soundtrack is great, but I'm also biased because there's a particular like musical like motif, late motif that plays throughout the movie that it features heavily in that song, and it's just like so good. A lot of like Celtic music in the movie actually, which is really good. So it's that album, and then I'm gonna say a string of words that some of you will not know what they mean, and I apologize, but Breakins is a hyper pop artist who has not come out with anything new in a long time, but his most recent album, Hypochondriac, which was I think 2022. I've just been playing that a lot lately as well. Would recommend it. Breakins, Brakence. That's what I've been listening to mostly is those two albums on repeat. I like just throwing that on. I've been just throwing it on in the background at work and just working away. So
Yeah. Also, shouts to 21 Pilots. Their new album Breach came out last week. Got some solid entries in there. More of a mature vibe from them. I know a lot of times people think they're a bit in the face, but this one, I don't want to say is subdued, but I think is a lot more controlled. Um, and Additionally, yeah, it's basically just been that in the weekend for me, looking on my on repeats. So keep doing your thing, Abel. We love you. And we're hoping to get some new music soon
Yeah, I don't feel
under
like
your
a
new
lot of
name.
great new music has come out. At least for me
I
personally.
know,
I know
I
Ed
know.
Sheeran just came out with an album I have not listened to. There's a lot of Ed songs
Okay,
I like. I just haven't felt the pull for that one yet.
yeah, it's okay. It's Ed. I think he's been steady the last couple albums. I don't think we're gonna see those peaks that we saw during Multiply and Divide. But it's good to have on in the background, I think.
Yeah,
One
I
more
feel
thing
like we're closing in
before.
on new music though, for sure.
Oh yeah.
Just
One more thing before we move on to our last segment. Shout out to Epic Universe from Universal Studios Orlando.
great experience.
We had the pleasure of going a few weeks ago with our wives, and you know clearly they have plans to continue expanding that park, and I'm very excited to see where they take it. But what they have as a core to start, I think, is incredible. We had a lovely time, and that roller coaster is going to live rent free. The Stardust Racer going to live rent free in my mind forever. I don't want to spoil
We
too
talked
much of
about
it.
it yesterday in the car. It just kind of
I
came.
just out of body experience. If you are in Orlando at any point, I do highly recommend going. I am an avid theme park person, and I had an absolute blast going.
I also want to add real quick. Jesse and I do not live. We live in the same state, but we do not live in the same city. I live in
No,
Pensacola. He lives in Orlando. We just luckily were able to get together for the weekend concert, and then we ended up going to Epic Universe as well, and just like spending some time together a couple weekends ago. But yeah, I echo everything Jesse said. Um, Super Nintendo World, like you think you like have seen like the videos and pictures and like have understood what it's like, but you really have not. Like you just got to
no,
go and experience it.
it's a
Like
feeling.
pictures and videos don't do it justice. And then yeah, the Stardust Racer I'm relatively newer to like the thrill roller coaster scene. I had a fear when I was younger, so I didn't really do any until after college. Um but it's a feeling that I have not felt from a ride. Like, I mean this physically, like not just like emotionally and like mentally, but like physically a feeling that I have not felt on any other ride. It hurts. Like it's one of those rides where you like get off and you're like, good God. But it's so fun, like during, like it's an incredible experience.
Alrighty,
All right,
so for
Jesse, hit us with our fun segment here.
our segment for this week, it's going to be rebrand of the week. So if a team could rebrand with a new mascot, name, colors, what should it be? And when I came up with this idea for this segment, I really had something specific in mind. So who knows? This might be a one-off. I think we could do it again at some point, but I had to get this off my chest. So for me, um, this rebrand is going to center around the Utah Jazz. You know, let me just say this. If I am a world-renowned jazz musician, right? I love jazz culture,
As one does.
right? I'm not thinking Utah. I'm being honest. I could be wrong. I've never been, but it's this not the first place that I'm thinking of. Clearly, the Utah Jazz were originally in New Orleans, where they were the New Orleans Jazz. That makes sense. So, in mine is actually a bit of a two for one. The Jazz name rights go back to New Orleans in this case.
You're not a Pelicans guy? It doesn't do
I'm
it
not
for
a
you?
Pelicans guy. No, I'm not a Pelicans guy. I'm just not feeling it.
I
And I
like
think they could use a
Pelicans. It
refresh.
just something about it. Maybe it's because like we both are like they should be the Jazz, but
Yeah. But moving them back to the Jazz opens up for Utah. So in this, I am also switching it from being named Utah, and we're going to be named Salt Lake. And through my research, was looking up things about the state of Utah. They are the beehive states. Even their state signs are little beehives.
he put a lot more
So
effort into this than I did, folks. He said the
I
word
told you
research.
oh yeah, this has been I've been waiting. Honestly, this is the only reason I'm doing the podcast so I could get this out.
You just want a platform to get this takeoff.
But I would like to rename them to the Salt Lake Swarm. and
Okay.
having some kind of honeybee kind of situation, which would make things interesting during that twice a year matchup against the Charlotte Hornets. Whoever gets the I guess the insect supremacy for that year, make a little rivalry out of it. But just something to consider if the owner of the Utah Jazz for some reason stumbles upon this podcast and uh, you want to spend millions of dollars of remarketing your team, then here's an idea for you.
Ryan Smith, listen to our podcast and take our ideas. Okay, that's not where I thought you told me kind of the framework of your idea. That is not where I thought you were taking it, but I like it. I support it. Utah Jazz is weird. I do really like what they've done with the Music Note logo is
I do
top
like the Music
top
Note
two
logo.
logo in the NBA, and it's not two. Um, it's just you're right. It is kind of out of line with like what you expect from Utah. Um, so I have kind of two thoughts here. Yeah, new mascot is a good. I didn't consider that when I was thinking. I was just like, who has like more potential than what they're currently showing. Um, but you've inspired me to off air like noodle on that and then come up with something better. First honorable mention, the Miami Dolphins. You have a good logo, but you had a better logo
You
with the
did
dolphin with the football
the
helmet.
goat
You never
logo.
should have gotten away from that. Also, if you can hear my dog noisily drinking water in the background, just ignore it. Um,
Joy.
but for me, I think I'm also going to say honorable mention Buffalo, the Buffalo Bills. I would love a Buffalo with a football would go dummy. I
It
think
would.
they should consider that. It's just they won't because they've had that logo for so long.
It's like
Um,
the old Bucks logo where he was spinning the basketball. That is one of my favorite logos in sports.
Yeah, I want to. I'm actually going to audible, Jesse, and from what I told you pre-show, I told you pre-show I
Oh,
wanted to do the Washington Commanders, but that seems like a layup because they just don't have an identity. We're here to talk about a serious epidemic that's affecting the people of our nation.
okay.
And I want to look into the camera when I say this because this is a serious epidemic, and that is damn circle logos. Um,
Yes,
Nothing frustrates me more and the Orlando Magic just did it.
I
Where
know.
they changed their logo to like, the circle corporate logo that like
Yep.
everybody does these days. And I think that's ridiculous. And the most egregious offender to me is the Washington Wizards. Um,
Yes.
you had like a genuinely cool concept. Now, what do Wizards have to do with Washington? I don't know, but that's fine. They don't have to be.
We like
Um,
alliteration. It's fine.
Right, yeah, you're all good. I don't know that Bullets was gonna stick around either, even though it's got a level of aura, but like, I don't know. I think that if you're not gonna commit to the Wizards, then you should ditch the Wizards. And now
Yes.
I do think they should commit to the Wizards. Bring me my little Merlin with the crossover dribble. If
Uh-huh.
you're tired of the Wizard spinning the ball, like, well, that's fine. There needs to be some level of sorcery to your logo and some level of whimsy. And the circle logo just is not it. Some circle logos, like Minnesota's, is fine for me because you have the wolf kind of like silhouetted. Well, not silhouetted because you can see the details, but like in front of like the moon. That's cool. Um, Toronto is also a travesty. You had one of the coolest logos in sports with the Raptor with the
The
basketball. You
greatest
got rid of
logo.
it.
I love that
Vince
thing.
Carter is, I'm sure, ashamed. Um, but Washington, you got to bring back the gold and the blue. Bring back the magic and the whimsy. And I know it's tough because you are in a league with another supernatural oriented spell casting team, but the Magic clearly don't want anything to do with whimsy. So that's what you got to swoop in. You got to own that and take that over. Get rid of this red, white, and blue stuff that you're doing because you're in Washington. Like you can have throw alternates, I guess it's fine, but like bring the magic back. Like
Yep.
um, take a team trip to Disney World or Epic Universe, Orlando Universal. See how they do it there, and be like, that's what we should do at our ballpark is have that spirit. So I don't have like a complete rebrand. I just like an impassioned plea of
Just
like
bring the whimsy back.
what you're doing is not okay, and we're calling you out on that.
And honestly, I think that can go for even just beyond sports, not to go off like on a whole tirade here, but like so many places have gone to that corporate feeling.
The
And we have
modern
one,
logo.
right, we have one McDonald's here in Orlando that still has the original massive golden arches that go across the side of the building. And I hope and pray
It
every
looks
single
so
day that
good.
they don't change that because when I'm thinking McDonald's, I want to go somewhere that looks bright, colorful, fun, reminds me of that nostalgic feeling of going to McDonald's. I do not want to feel like I'm sitting in a boardroom somewhere and
All
getting
these places
my
they look like
McDouble.
credit unions now.
They do. They do. I don't need you to look like a bank teller. Have some fun.
Yeah.
I'm coming here to enjoy myself, right? Completely understand where you're coming from. I agree. Anything else for the good of the cause before we sign off on our first episode?
I feel like I did have some. I wrote it down somewhere. I don't see it in front of me, so I don't want to like drag it out. I just want people to know that if Notre Dame loses to Purdue, you will not. This will be the first and only episode of this podcast. Um, I do have family that graduated from Purdue, so it wouldn't be like a total wash for me personally. But I said some things about Notre Dame football before the season that would require me to fake my death and go like become a logger in the Pacific Northwest if they lose this football game, which they will not, so it's fine. We'll be back next week. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I needed a safe place to say that. And this is going to be my accountability partner if that goes south. But um,
I will absolutely have a Photoshop picture of you doing some logging as my co-host next week if things go south.
yeah, I mean, you'll have to because I won't be here. You won't know how to find me.
I'll always find you in every lifetime in every universe. Alrighty, folks, that is it for the first episode of Spillin' It. Hope you had a great time. I know I did. For Ben, I am Jesse, and we will see you all next week. See you on the other side.